I've been cleaning all these stones because, I'll explain. So we were putting a kind of sealant on the stones because they're very, very dusty. And that dust will continue to fall off and the clay and all of that unless we put a sealant on. So they did a test run of the sealant and I wasn't very happy. Well, neither was Dan. Not with the work, but with the result. And the result was that this wall was actually shining. The light that was coming in was bouncing off the walls rather than being diffused. So I've had to take that off and prepare it again. So for now, we're still looking for a product that's completely matte and does not cost the earth to do all the walls. I've got to also dust off all the clay on these walls. I've started on one wall and we may revise that idea. I might actually lime and clay point in the joints. Here you can see, so this is the original clay egg and grit extra pointing, which has to be cleaned off, and all the woodwork has to be cleaned and any of the cement that's landed. So I've spent, like for example here, you've got lumps of cement that we've got to clean off. It's just a long process, and because of that we need to work flat out. You can see there's plastic on all the windows because that was when they were going to use the spray, when they were using the spray. A few minutes ago, I've been picking out the tiny little bits of cement, and I was poking in this deep hole, and I have to show you what I found. I found the gold. Maybe it's the silver, but I found a little ring. So I am going to investigate that later. How cool is that? Finally, treasure. Where's your goggles?
I might do a little bit of lights.
But I've given it a little kind of wipe now. So it's a faith, hope and charity ring. And these were very popular back in the Victorian times and Georgian times. So after I scrape most of the heavy plaster off, I'll just take a damp cloth to it and wash it, and then pick out anything that's stuck in the grain. I'll show you what I've done earlier. It takes a long time. It's Patrick.
Good morning.
Patrick.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So we're about to see the floor completely empty for the first time. Dan and I were here till the dark of night, cleaning the place out so that Patrick could get started first thing. Patrick of Coimbra, made in Switzerland.
Yes, made in Switzerland.
So he is going to be doing all the floors, sanding and polishing the floors. So we'll have a look and see what it's like. Have a look. So I need to get on and give Patrick a hand because he's only on his own today to bring up some of the machinery. Here we go, all cleaned out. It's looking good. So, here we go. Right, let's get to it, vamos. sanding has all been done and Patrick has coated the floor in some type of protective stuff. Everything's called massa, but it's not massa that's used for building. And that should protect the floor enough now so that any work that has to go on, of course, it still needs to be done carefully and covered again. Still got to put the fireplace in, and the carpenter and the team are going to put the skirting board and what else? Oh, the doors, into the internal doors in the house. So they should be going on tomorrow when this is dry. Socks, because I just want to be 100% sure that this protection stuff is dry. So just sort of show it to you here. It's kind of a beige coloured, very on trend, beige. I'm not really that keen on beige as such, but it is a very safe colour. When I say I'm not very keen on beige, I look around me, everything is beige, brown. And that's the natural colour of what we've got. There's a constant sort of shuffle between tradespeople here. So that's why I think start and stop, because nobody can use the floor today because it has to be dry. So there's nobody working today. And it's nice and quiet and it has a real feel of living here now. So, yeah, it's looking good. We, of course, have had to move everything so that we can get on with the cleaning. You can see what I mean up there. So today we've got Zay here and he's installing the interior doors. There's one. It really is starting to look good. And we've got the skirting boards in. They all need tidying up. And really in here, all we need now is the kitchen. A little bit closer to having actual plumbing. Despite the shiny product, I asked Pedro, could I keep a bit of it? Fickle. I scrubbed and cleaned these shelves to put that product on so that this would be more easily wiped because it's a horizontal surface. Yeah, so I've done all that shelf in the product, and this is what it looks like in the morning after it's dried. I'm very pleased with that result. I actually think I might use it on the love seat area as well. You know, these stones look fabulous, but they do not, you know, even the old render just drops off if you touch it. And I know I am going to be just constantly sweeping and vacuuming, which is why I need the robot vacuum cleaner. Well, my final job here on this alcove shelf is to, well, it's my final job here really, is to go around, clean all of the lentils and just give them a last clean and get some linseed oil on it. Before I do any of the linseed oil is to take this back a little bit. This is originally in one of the original windows that was in the house before we got the house. And it had been accidentally washed with the power washer and has lifted all the soft heartwood, or what's it called, kind of the pulpy wood out of the grain. If you find this in any way interesting, but I'm just doing it a little bit at a time so I don't take too much off, and then I'm kind of smoothing out the edges. So, because there's something I find about wood, you always want to touch it and stroke it. Well, maybe you don't, but I do. Another thing, just in case you're wondering, all the timber, the old timber in the house has all been treated for woodworm. Pretty much rub my hands over it without getting splinters, but it's certainly not smooth. Hello. Well, today I asked Jose a little question about this. So as you can see, this is green. You know, why is this green and the others are white? And he said, oh, green is for sporting, red is for Benfica, and blue is for Porto. Obrigada, Jose. Blue is for Porto. And I thought, oh, it really doesn't matter then. But anyway, he explained to me that it does matter, and that these green ones, I don't know if it's necessary that they're green, but they're a different type, maybe not stronger, but they're a different type of backing for the light fitting that goes into drywall, plasterboard, or pladura as it's called here. He's having a little joke with me, so we're having a bit of a laugh about that. Just in case you're not aware, but Sporting, Benfica and Porto are all football clubs, and people here are quite passionate about their football. Posso ver?
Pode. Luísa, meter a borracha.
desculpa. Meu rabo. Sua cara.
Está grande. Está grande.
Ah, tá grande. Ah, pouco mais. Cortar.
Cortar. Sim.
So Luis is putting on the, what do you call them? The seals.
Ainda vou preso.
Esta fixa mais rápido. Esta, futuro. Esta para segurar em...
Temporada. Ah, ok.
Fixação 60 segundos.
Oh. $60 flat. So he puts two types of material on, a long set and a short set. The screws hold it in temporarily until it sets, and then he comes and removes all the little screws. In English we call it skirting board, and here in Portugal it's called rodapé. Rodapé.
Rodapé.
Rodapé. Architrave. And in Portugal it's called garnições. You learn so many words when you're here on a building site. Not for your general chit-chat, but great for learning building terms. This is the day I've been waiting for. Windows in the north side of the house. Oh gosh, it would be good to actually see some natural light in these rooms. Well, I have to say, in these rooms, there's quite a lot of light comes in here, and in our bedroom, of course, we have a window already, but in the bathroom, it's completely dark, which is just as well, because that's where all the mirrors are, and that's where all the mirrors are, and you know, as they say, as you get older, you don't really want to see what's in the mirror. So Antonio's behind me masking off all the woodwork now so that they can fill it up with massa. I start forgetting what the English words are. Anyway, it's just to fill in the gaps. So that is 3 walls done, not primed and painted white. So it wasn't really much point in showing you it because it's still white, but it's whiter than it was before. It doesn't really show, like for you, the greatest transformation of all times. But golly gosh, what a lot of scaffolding up, scaffolding down. And most of this was done by ladder. It's just the scaffolding here. And the reason we haven't done this wall is because it takes two rows of scaffolding, not just 1.5. And the priority is to get these 3 walls done so that Rui can get on with making that kitchen. And if he's ready, it can go in. And Dan, of course, is off on another trip to Indonesia, and I think I might be moved in when he comes back. I mightn't have moved out of the rental, but I might have moved in here. We'll see. It really is starting to kind of have a feel of home. This is the last lintel on this wall that has been given the linseed oil treatment. Sorry about the blinding light. And you can see how nice they look. Windows are dirty and it's about to rain again. Another week. But that'll give our velux windows a little bit of a test. So I've been up and down those all day. Oh, it's dark. I've been up and down on all the windows. I'm not sure if you can see much. And so the windows are in. Zay has put some wooden trims on and I've just popped up, varnished them and cleaned the windows. You know, the glue that gets left on the glass. So I got that done before the rain, but only because the scaffolding was up in all of the rooms. So that just after they'd finished the windows. So I took advantage of the scaffolding being there and got up and did it. I have to say, it's a little bit sketchy without a guard, but anyway, don't worry. I won't show you it when I'm doing something really dangerous. How are we? Nearly finished?
Yeah.
Time for a glass of wine almost?
Yeah. I've got a cold Maggie, enjoy.
Yeah.
I think it looks fantastic.
Yeah, but what about the actual process of it?
Well, it's a little bit time consuming. You get into the swing of it. It's quite therapeutic.
Are you going to pull off the masking tape?
Definitely.
So Manel and Rui are out here choosing some more stones because there's an extra step outside Dan's office that had to be created. We are going to put the top of that with the slate that we've got in the veranda as well, but the old step needs to be in schist. So these guys just never let up with coming up with beautiful solutions as well as practical and structural. Everything is just wonderful. A nice surprise. So I'll get back to my job. Be nice. Last piece. The ball's getting bigger. This way. No, I'll go this way. Not sure. Not change my mind. Go this way. So there you go. All nice and fresh. And as you can see, it looks a bit kind of grubby now on this side. So today we're using a different oleo de linhaça, which is a different type of linseed oil than I've used before. The last one was cru, and this one is fervido. So one is boiled and one is raw. And to be honest, this one that's boiled is instantly hard. Gives a really hard surface, a bit like a varnish. It dries much quicker. Last one on this side to do. And one of the really interesting things is we seem to be starting about 15, 20 jobs between us and nothing is getting finished. So we've started here, put a bit of primer here, painted 3 walls, not 4. And the reason for that is when we start something, we do it when someone's not working in our area. So the next thing you know, somebody needs to work in a particular area, so we start a different job. And we end up with lots and lots and lots of things started and no process is finished. And that's just the way of it when things are going on around you with other people working and things take higher priority, have to be finished before something else can start. And so it goes on and on and on. But you know that little by little, day by day, we're getting closer and closer and closer to having something finished. Yesterday, say the carpenter's mum came over for a visit, and she's nearly 90. And up those steps she came, no handrail or anything, and was really quite pleased with how the house was coming along. And she told me as well, she had been born here. I've become oblivious to the sound, so I'll be quiet for now. Oh, stopped again. So, it was quite nice hearing about all the people who'd been born and died in this house as well. And she was saying that at a time there were two separate houses. Now I'm still not 100% clear if the chapel side of the house was one side and this was the other, but it was definitely lived in as two houses. So whether it was two sets of people lived in the house and shared the same kitchen area, that I'm not clear on. But there were so many doors with locks in this house, it was very possible. And it's very common in Portugal as well, because we put no internal locks on our house because we don't like locking the house inside. I don't need to lock Dan out and he doesn't need to lock me out. So just something peculiar to me about Portugal. So if you look here where the skirting board joins the rocks, or joins the schist, he has put this lovely little trim of, it's a mixture of lime and cement and sand, just to sort of marry the two parts together. Well, Patrick has just turned up and he doesn't look like he's doing any work at all today because unfortunately we're not ready for him, but he's been busy this morning singing. There's two types of music that are very popular in traditional in Portugal, and that's fado and
música pimba. Encosta, encosta que ela gosta. Encosta com muito jeitinho. Encosta, encosta que ela gosta. E no roça, roça, dá-me beijinho.
That's me dancing to
Encosta, encosta que ela gosta.
Thank you very much for
Encosta,
giving us
encosta
this.
que ela gosta. Encosta com muito jeitinho. Encosta, encosta que ela gosta. E no roça, roça, I love you, I love you.
Thank you very much, and we'll see you soon. Ciao.
Bye, thank you.